I would like to review another thing before we go fully into Pentecost, and that's the map, the raised map of the land of Israel. I just want you to remember where the city of Jerusalem is. Jesus was walking all over the place. This is the last time you are going to see this map, but I have another map, the map of the city of Jerusalem. So the angel came here to Nazareth. Jesus grew up here in Nazareth, but he was born in Bethlehem, in the south of the country of Israel. But the temple and the last few days of Jesus were there, and the beginning of the church was there. So we're gonna focus right now on that city, the city of Jerusalem. And I want you to think about that. And think about this was the celebration of harvest, Thanksgiving and harvest celebration called Pentecost. So all the Jews were in the city, and they went to the temple and they did all the traditions and all the things they did around this time of the year. So the apostles, and most likely Mary, they were gathered in an upper room, most likely the upper room where they have been before. And I just want you to remember this upper room, because we're going to talk a lot about it. So we are going to imagine that they are there, they are gathered, and let me see if I can move it a little closer. And by then, Jesus wasn't with them anymore. Jesus had ascended into heaven. So we're gonna put Jesus back here. But there they were. And I wonder how they felt. I wonder what they were thinking. There was no electricity, so they had candles. And I wonder if they were in fear. I wonder what they were thinking. Now, what do we do? Where do we go from here? What are we supposed to do? Where should we start? So I'm going to read to you the story of what happened when they were all gathered around to celebrate Pentecost. And it is from the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 2. When the day of Pentecost came, all the believers were gathered together in one place. Suddenly, there was a noise from the sky, which sounded like a strong wind blowing, and it filled the whole house where they were sitting. Then they saw what looked like tongues of fire, which spread out and touched each other person's head. They were all filled with the Holy Spirit and began to talk in other languages as the Spirit enabled them to speak. There were Jews living in Jerusalem, religious people who had come from every country in the world. When they heard this noise, a large crowd gathered. They were all excited because all of them heard the believers talking in their own languages. In amazement and wonder, they exclaimed, "These people who are talking like this are Galileans. How is it then that all of us hear them speaking in our own native languages? We are from Parthia, Media, Elam, Mesopotamia, Judea, Cappadocia, from Pontus, Egypt, Libya, Cyrene. Some of us are from Rome, both Jews and Gentiles converted to Judaism, and some of us are from Crete and Arabia. Yet, all of us hear them speaking in our own languages about the great things that God has done. Amazed and confused, they kept asking each other, "What does this mean?" What can we tell Jesus? What can we tell God after what we have heard, after listening of the coming of the Holy Spirit? I imagine they were amazed of themselves, and they were amazed of each other. And as soon as they were filled with the Holy Spirit, I'm sure there was no more fear among them. And this was probably the first time that they were preaching and that they were telling the wonders of God and the stories of Jesus. And it is probably the beginning. It is not probably. It is the beginning of the church. It is the beginning of the preaching after Jesus had gone up to heaven. And that's probably why it is the first chapter in our book. Because we belong to the Catholic Church that started that day in Pentecost with the coming of the Holy Spirit. And we received the Holy Spirit at our baptism. And we received a candle, which is the light of Jesus. And Jesus is the light of the world. And we received the white garment, and we were baptized with water and with the Holy Spirit. I invite you to remain in silence for a minute and just listen. Listen what God has to tell you today.